you guys made it. It's the final panel of the day. Crazy. Did not think that we would make it, but here we are. And so I wanted to first start off by thanking all of you guys for making it out here. It's great to see so many faces here and so many people excited about fashion and technology. And with that, I will introduce myself. I'm Karina Popovich. I'm the founder of Orchids. And Orchids is a playground for all things emerging tech and fashion. We do a lot of projects with NFC tags, with blockchain, co-creation, circular fashion, and so many other cool topics that we've gone to talk about today. And so a lot of this kind of genesis behind this event is also one of Orchid's core values, which is the future of this technology really depends on a lot of these startups that you see here today in the expo working together to really build out some of these use cases of the future that don't just solve one problem, but solve the larger problem of the fashion industry. And so that's really why we're all here today. And so with that, I want to just also thank Threads of Tech, our wonderful co-host alongside Orchids for making this event happen, and also thank our panelists for being here. So huge applause to them. And with that, I will kick it off to them to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Manon Martin. I'm the founder of Les Aimants. Les Aimants is the first bridal platform that allows consumers to fully digitally customize a wedding dress online by picking up different areas of top, skirt, fabric, additional detail to build like a fully customizable pieces. Get 3D body scan from the comfort of their home or in our showroom in New York and receive a wedding dress that fits in one shot within 8 weeks instead of 8 months.
Amazing. Hi everyone, I'm Colette Johnson, co-founder of the PS Collective, which is an online marketplace for rental and resale, specifically for petite women, 5'4" and below. Fun fact for those that don't know, that petite is often thought of as just tiny all around, but it's actually just about height. And so we are not only trying to help women to monetize and add circularity to their wardrobe, but also to educate women on that there's options for you, 5'4" and below.
Hi, I'm Emily Burnett. I'm the founder of Meta Burnett. It's digital solutions for fashion brands, focusing on consumer experiences. I hate to say it, 20, 25 plus years in fashion on the design side of things, having been starting at Ralph Lauren, moved on to the creative director of Dennis Basso, launched my own luxury women's brand, Burnett New York, and pivoted to all things technology during COVID. So launched Meta Burnett with a mission to really empower other brands with 3D designs, digital solutions, using blockchain technology in hopes that we can help them to become more profitable, build new communities, and spread brand awareness.
Hi, I'm Sonia Petta. I'm a consultant in merchandising strategy and innovation. I'm a former executive in retail and fashion for companies like Saks, Victoria's Secret, etc. And with my focus on innovation, I wrote a book called The Metaverse and the Future of Fashion. I was part of the original .com revolution, and I saw what the consequences are when you don't adapt to new technology, etc. So I wrote this as a beginner's guide to help fashion brands and anyone who loves fashion understand what it is.
Hi, my name is Leora Cole. Previously I was studying computer science at Cornell, and now I model with IMG Models, and I'm the founder of Shop Ari. It was the first booth when you guys were walking in, and essentially what Shop Ari is a virtual avatar that is a personal stylist powered by AI. So you talk to her, you tell her what you like, what you're shopping for, and she shops for you, agnostic to the brand, specific to your personal style across the internet.
Love it. Cannot wait to meet Ari, and if you guys haven't yet, you absolutely should. So we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of expertises here. And so we're really trying to cover all the different types of innovation happening in fashion brands. And so one thing that has been really popular and has been providing a lot of utility in the space is 3D design. So let's dive into it. Manon, Colette, can you kick us off by sharing more about what 3D design is, what value it provides to the fashion industry?
Yes, so I'm a former technical designer, product developer for a large fashion group that you might actually be wearing tonight. And so my job was to build a gap between the fashion design house and the factories overseas. And so about 10 years ago, I think 12 years ago by now, 12 years ago, there was this beautiful thing that 3D fitting came out in the United States that was really pulled out for like larger group to help them reduce the back and forth of communication between the design house that will overdevelop new garments for each collection. So as a matter of fact, in order to get 40 new pieces of clothing each year on each season on the floor in a retail, as a design house, you will probably develop like 140, and 40 of those will be adopted by like massive fashion groups such as Saks, Bloomingdale's, like you call it. And so 3D fitting came, so we will actually stop of having so many prototypes coming back and forth from the factory that will be overseas to be fitted in the design offices. So we have about like 5 garments per style times 140, that's a lot, 12 times a year, I'll let you count, so many companies. So we will like develop like the design of it, fit the garments, and reduce the amount of prototyping that will be developed. So that's like one of the beautiful perks that was really essentially built for like larger groups of fashion. But the beautiful things as well is that how 10 years later, like the made-to-order apparel space is also benefiting from it, and how now slow fashion can be at speed by producing much faster, reducing the back and forth of communication between the different parties of production, because you can have one spot where the garment can be reviewed by so many different teams.
Yeah, I think that's great, and I can speak from the consumer-facing side where we know that although fashion is pretty archaic, and we're all here to help advance the industry, from a B2B side, I think 3D design has been talked about a little bit more than from a consumer side. I would say one of the things that 3D design could really help with, once we crack the code on marrying 3D design with actual fit, we will be able to really crack the code on virtual try-ons, being comfortable with our online avatars and shopping with them. And one of the reasons why returns are so high in the US is because of size and fit, and people buying multiple sizes to see what works and then sending them back. Fashion, as we know, is the second largest polluter in the world, just behind oil and gas, and that honestly can be fixed if we take the good parts of 3D design with understanding people's bodies and creating clothes not for the masses but for individuals at scale. So once we get to that, I think we're on a whole other level of the power of 3D and fashion combined.
Okay, there we go. Okay, and I'll just take this to a completely different space here. You know, I think kudos to everyone that's using 3D design for fit and inclusivity and, you know, helping supply chain be more efficient operations, cut costs. I started down that path and it is a challenging one. And, you know, for me, I just took it a completely different direction. I decided to go down the slightly sexier route and use 3D design for marketing purposes. So engaging innovative campaigns, being able to interact with a garment or a model wearing a garment in 3D, being able to see it right in front of you in your apartment or wherever it is on the street through holograms or AR or VR. Just having this deeper connection with the product and really having the consumers engage with the brands in a really exciting way. So I think there's a lot of room for 3D design to grow and a lot of room for brands to incorporate this into their marketing campaigns and really make shopping fun again, because it's been really just like swipe, 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 and you don't really stop and engage with what it is or learn about it and understand the work that goes into the back end of things. So yeah.
Couldn't agree more. I think a lot of what we're seeing here is there's just so much connection between all the different things happening in space. There's the fit side of 3D design, the super kind of I would say high utility version where you can literally see how much waste you're cutting back. But then there's also the side that's kind of more adjacent to metaverses and what shopping online could look like and what that experience could be. And I'm sure we've all heard about metaverses, but I'd love to hand it over to Sonia to share more about what is going on in the space. I mean, so many brands are launching their own metaverses. Do you really believe that we're moving towards a metaverse shopping experience?
Is this working? Oh, good. So, the internet is moving into a 3D immersive internet. That is a fact. I mean, we are all sitting in screens and looking at a 2D world, and that's not evolved yet. It's going to continue to evolve into an immersive experience, and instead of witnessing what we're looking at in websites, we'll be immersed in it and walking through it. And in order to do that, we have to take on the form of an avatar, right? So we have evidence that this is happening now in the gaming world. And when you look at gaming and a platform like Roblox getting over 70 million average daily users, right? And they did a study and 40% of them care more about their identity on their digital avatar than they do in physical form. And this is a really important statistic because they're already doing something that many, many other people aren't doing, but they're going to grow up and before you know it, that's the life that they're used to. So as we get into this 3D internet and we think about how are we going to dress for it, right? That's where digital fashion comes in, where you actually are buying digital goods. And for most people, it seems like a little bit crazy, but that's normal because I was there when we were launching .com and people thought that was crazy to put your credit card online. So this is definitely going to be normalized, and we have evidence with gaming. And another example I'll give for you that if you haven't heard of the ABBA Voyage show in London, it's avatars on stage, and people go to this concert and it's a phenomenon, right? You can watch the trailer on YouTube, and it feels very real. People are interested in seeing entertainment, even though it's not real people. And these avatars were created with the real musicians wearing motion capture suits, and then they created probably through AI or whatever, what they would look like today if this is how they were in the 70s, exactly how they would look today with new fashions, Dolce & Gabbana, all these different designs, and people experienced it as if it was real. So imagine that you can eventually go into your screen or your glasses or whatever devices that we end up with for experiencing this 3D world, and it will feel just as real to you as it does today. So you're going to have to get dressed for those, you're going to want to get digital fashion, and that will help brands have new revenue streams. It will also lead you to want to buy the physical twin of that digital fashion. So many exciting opportunities coming ahead.
Very cool. I especially like the concept of digital twins, being able to dress your avatar, whether that be as simple as your Snapchat avatar or your Bitmoji in the same things that you would actually wear, feels, as close to relevant as it could be for a person like me. My sister's an iPad baby, so everything Sonia said, see it living through her, but less so through me. But speaking to the point of avatars, Lior, you're working with an avatar and you've built Ari to be an avatar. What do you kind of see that connection between physical and digital to be like?
Yeah, I mean, in the realm of avatar versus not avatar, I think when you look at Web 2, it's very much like search bar driven or like interface driven. But when you think about what the most natural interaction is that you have, it's always with other people. Your brain is more activated when you look at a human face than anything else. And so before AI, or everything that was happening in AI right now, avatars had less obvious utility and less, I guess, effective utility, because the capabilities of technology did not have any sort of like sentiment or any like human-like capabilities, whereas now AI has human-like capabilities. So if you put a human face to it and you shape the interaction that way, to me that seems like the most intuitive and natural next evolution of like where everything is going. So that's really why I made Ari an avatar and not like a search bar or any other sort of platform, is because like if you think about what is most innate to human beings, it's talking to other human beings. And now that we have AI and all the tools available to us, that interface can actually be facilitated through a conversational, humanized experience, whether you're shopping or doing pretty much anything else.
I want to add to that's a really good point about the human part of it, because when you study the gaming successes, a lot of it is the game gets the people in there that are gaming, but what keeps them there is a socialization. So that's where what they want to do is hang out in small groups with their friends in a gaming environment.
For sure. With that in mind, I kind of want to talk a little bit more, just to the idea of that connection between physical and digital. I think most of the audience here probably can relate to the fact that metaverses feel a little strange and not exactly natural. So obviously it's going to take a little bit of transition time to get to that point. And so that's going to be that transition of physical and digital, and we like to combine that and sometimes say phygital. So with that, Lior, tell us a little bit more about what you think it's going to take for us to get there.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get excited about like metaverse or like immersive worlds as a concept, but like the second anyone opens their laptop and tries to open a metaverse like world, it's going to like freak out unless you have like a gaming console or something like that. So the reason I say that is because like the merging of worlds, like the digital and physical world, I think is going to be something that's invisible when the hardware catches up to make some sort of like accessible user experience where like you can go into an immersive world and you're not even realizing that you're doing it. In the same way that like everyone opens up Instagram and suddenly you're like connecting with all of your friends, but it wasn't like such a heavy task. So I think we're seeing like initial tests of it now, where like you have metaverse worlds and you have the gaming world, which usually is a predecessor to like everything else. So that's a positive signal that this is where things are headed. And then you have like Apple's VR headset, which like they just came out with. But I just don't see the mainstream like user putting on an Apple VR headset or paying $4,000 for that. So I think the answer of when physical and digital will really merge, one is when it becomes more integrated into how life is now and more invisible. And then two, I would argue that we already live in a digital world where we have our computers and our phones and everything that we do online. Now it's just an evolution of that, not a beginning of that combination.
I'll go ahead.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I'll definitely add to this because this is definitely my wheelhouse. So I completely agree. Like the connection between the physical and digital and using the technology has to be seamless. and not even noticeable. Like people have to click something happens, and they don't even know that they're using the technology that's out there. Part of what we're doing is connecting physical products to digital activations, but also connecting digital assets to physical experiences. So what that could look like is, using an NFC tag on a garment as a trigger point, using a digital wallet, which is really just to the user, a one-click claim to receive, rewards or loyalty points or access to an event. All these things connecting the physical product to the digital experiences, and in a really seamless way, right? So click the QR code, click the NFC tag, whatever it is, brings you onto the wallet and delivers the experiences right to you. And to your point, like you don't even know that is happening. And I think that for the fashion industry is a digestible way to incorporate blockchain, start thinking about 3D designs, start thinking about connecting the physical and the digital worlds. The metaverse concept is amazing. It's there and it's coming, but it's been so challenging to get brands on board, especially at the corporate level, where they're just not ready to change strategies that they've had for decades or generations. The younger brands are really excited about it, and that's where we see more progression and more adoption of the technology, because they are easy to make decisions quicker, they're excited about it, their consumers are typically much younger and sort of demanding these physical digital connections right away. So definitely something that is right there at their fingertips, and it's exciting that all of us are trying to drive that change in the industry.
Yeah. So essentially, it's right around the corner, guys. Just you wait. Tomorrow.
I will throw in that there have been a couple of good examples of Alo Yoga and Nike, and there are brands that are doing things where they have a premium sweatshirt and you get the digital asset, where they used to call it an NFT, but it's intimidating because people don't know what that is. So they just decided they were just going to put all that stuff behind the scenes and just say, hey, you get a digital asset, and if you're into it, it's great. You'll appreciate it and you'll use it. But if not, that's okay too. So they're trying to do a hybrid, easing people into it. So those that are early adopters get the perks, and those that just love the premium sweatshirt can just get the sweatshirt. But if they want to know, they actually came with a free digital asset, she's talking about.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing to touch on is the ROI for the brands that are using it, right? So the important thing is what are the brands going to receive using this technology that's not out there? So the theme of the day, of the week, of New York Fashion Week that we're talking about is that brands are just not profitable. They're not able to compete in ad spend on Google and Facebook and Instagram and all this, and they have no other outlet, no room to build communities, no money left in the bank for marketing, all this. So this gives them an access point to new communities growing faster. It takes them out of being an individual silo. So no brand has to operate on their own anymore, using blockchain smart contracts, using all of this technology. They can be collaborating between sports and entertainment, access at sporting events, music, shows, concerts, you name it, whatever the industry is, they're able to use everyone's community and bring them all together in order to build their community much faster, equaling more chances of revenue streams and brand awareness.
So interesting to hear how many different kind of channels this technology opens up for just profit and revenue. I think one thing too, just to the points made here earlier, it's crazy because brands like Nike, through their projects with Dot Swoosh and some others, where they essentially were selling NFTs of sneakers, onboarded so many people onto blockchain. They were actually a significant portion of people being onboarded into this emerging technology, which just does a lot for the power of a brand in the space to really kind of move the needle in terms of people adopting this tech. And to the point of cost, there is so many different potential avenues to really chase here. And being here at this expo, there's a bunch of startups that'll tell you that too. But diving a little bit deeper into kind of, the hurdles of this tech being adopted. I mean, I think we talked about a few kind of technologies that are being adopted: 3D design for fit, metaverses, and those digital experiences. But taking a step back, why are these major fashion brands really struggling to adopt this technology? Why are we not seeing LVMH jump at the opportunity to use blockchain to prove that they're using ethical labor? Why are we not accepting, or why are they not accepting this? So with that, I'll hand it over to all of the panelists. Would love to hear what you guys think about all this.
I would like to jump in, not specifically talking about 3D design, but all technology in fashion. And the way that the PS Collective originally started, my co-founder and I developed used computer vision technology to understand women's measurements and match them to clothes that fit their bodies. And so it was a very hyper-personalized shopping experience where you could shop based on your likes, dislikes, very specific body measurements and body shape. And we worked with independent brands to connect them, because one of the things that independent brands are really great at is really focusing in on hyper niche communities and really understanding those body types, rather than, again, looking at the larger retailers and brands and trying to retrofit them onto all bodies. And we were really successful in doing this. The only thing that we overlooked was that women actually were not comfortable with that friction point of taking photos of themselves. And you could wear tight-fitting clothes. These people were not naked, but there was a sense of lack of trust or privacy in taking photos and submitting them to a site that they've never heard of, to be connected to brands that they likely have also never heard of. Even though the interest is there, right? 8 in 10 women struggle to find clothes that fit because clothes aren't made for them. Yet we create this thing that will connect them to everything that they've ever dreamed of, and they're apprehensive about it, and it's because of education. If a small brand like us does not have the same budget that these larger brands do to test and try these new alternatives. And so in order to get something like that to work, you really have to educate your audience on the entire process and show them what the outcome is going to be of that and why it's a benefit to them. We tried to do this, but what we realized was a really intriguing fact that women didn't want to take photos on the front end, but they were happy to take photos after they purchased a garment to review the garment, because that was inherently based in a lot of, 20 years of reviews and understanding how certain clothes fit and sharing that community base of it. I think one of the interesting things that we can think about moving forward in who did it right, Stitch Fix, when it comes to subscription boxes, they really started the trend and made it normalized to be able to expect and do a different way of shopping. Rent the Runway, no one heard of, and people kind of scoffed at renting clothes until they came along. And there's always going to be a first. It's just first and doing it right, and really catching the wave of people, answering a problem or a need that they have, while also making it super, super easy to convert that audience. So really getting rid of the friction points.
Yeah, on the note of Stitch Fix and Rent the Runway, I feel like, going back to why fashion is so slow to adopt these new innovations and when you look at Stitch Fix and when you look at Rent the Runway, these are like technology-enabled companies, but it's more of like a business. It's not like a deep tech sort of like AI model. And I think that was easier to innovate at the intersection of fashion and technology when the technology wasn't, I guess, more of like a black box as it is right now. And then what I see right now is like there's all this technology sort of at the frontier being built by very technical people that aren't necessarily, for the most part, familiar with something like the fashion domain or anything else. So it's built in a way that is accessible to innovate with other devs, and accessible to understand with people who understand code or other technical people. But when someone that has like deep fashion expertise comes into play and they want to use technology at the very cutting edge, it's like the Wild West, and it's very easy to go wrong, right? Because there's no like set path the way that there is how things work right now. And so I find that people tend to just steer clear and kind of do their own thing in the way that it's always been, because that's more of like a safer bet rather than entering a domain that they really don't have any expertise in. So I think the answer really comes like twofold, and they both feed into each other. Where one, it's like building these very frontier applications and developer tools in a way that is accessible and reaches a mass audience beyond just the technical world, so that everyone is at the frontier. And then the other flip side of that feeds into it is really figuring out a way to inspire more diverse people in building frontier technology. And I don't mean diverse only in like the obvious stat of like there are way less women that are programmers. I mean like, and that's definitely a pressing issue, but that's only one of the issues, where it's like anyone who is a creative person or anyone who is wants to be a fashion designer and maybe isn't the best at like math but excels at art or any of the other more creative industries, like there should be a place for them to be able to have a seat at the table when these technical applications are being built, and then that feeds into making it more accessible for everyone, and then everyone is on the front lines innovating together.
Couldn't agree more.
I will add that, like, back to your question about why are so many fashion brands not jumping in, and one of the other hurdles is that the audience that you see when you go to some of these metaverse experiences is pretty small. Whereas like Roblox and Fortnite and like the games have millions and millions of users. If you go to a Decentraland or Spatial or Sandbox, like some of these that are more metaverse experiences, there aren't that many people there, right? At this point, there are the early adopters. I mean, if you go, you'll see the same couple hundred people all the time. And I think over time, more of us will be compelled to go. And in my opinion, it's probably going to be entertainment that gets us in there, or travel or education. That when people start creating these experiences and really offer you a value, that you're going to want to jump in there, and you'll be forced to make your avatar. And of course, you'll go to RE and get your outfit and everything, and then you'll have that experience. But I think brands are shy in some cases because they don't see the audience. The really big names do play in that space, and they can afford it, and they're smart to do that because there's so many reasons, like customer engagement and personalization. It's endless how many positive reasons there are to get started sooner than later. But I think that's one big hurdle, is that. And another hurdle is just the team that you have in your company. Like, I just wrapped up a consulting assignment with a brand that's like medium-sized, like $100 million fashion brand, and they did not have digital design in their process at all. But of course, after I finished with them, they started the process of looking to hire a digital fashion agency that could help them get there. And it's just a matter of education, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's fear of adoption and then just the resources, right? Like, I just heard of a CTO at a fashion brand for the first time this year. Like, that's crazy, because that has never existed before. So they're definitely looking into it, but they just don't have the resources, and they don't have someone on the tech side who really understands the fashion industry and the inside pain points that need to be addressed. So that's why it's so important that we're here. And I'll just say, like, yes, there are a lot of hurdles, but there are a lot of regulations, especially coming from Europe, that are going to force the change, especially on the US side, when it comes to supply chain transparency and authenticity and all that. And I'll let you speak on that.
was not about the supply chain, but it was actually about the brands. What is interesting is that those brands won't have the choice within the next 5 years or so to adapt themselves to be actually digital or will actually evolve in their business model, because you also have to taper on the type of society that you're dealing with. Like the generation that are younger, they are more aware about how digital work, but yeah, and that's it's just it's taper on the consumer journey. Your consumer has expectation, and so the brand do not have any more choice today to actually look into how they can serve better their consumer on the final print.
Just want to clarify that when I say digital design, I'm referring to the 3D digital design. Brands do have 2D digital design, but we're here today focused on 3D.
Oh, very valuable clarification. I think too, we've been talking a lot about brands and kind of their fault, in not adopting. But I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the consumer. What needs to happen with the consumer for us to see adoption? I know we've mentioned consumer behavior changing. What does that mean to you guys, and what does that look like?
So, just extending on my point earlier, I think it's really about the consumer demanding change and demanding to see the things that they want. I think we've become, especially women in the industry, have become very lax and almost brainwashed by the way that shopping has been for the last however many years, where it's almost backwards, where we expect to buy things and we feel bad when it doesn't fit us, when it's actually the clothes that are the issue, and then returns are seen as normal, commonplace, when in reality, why are you buying something that actually doesn't work for you? So I think it's all about first demanding change for ourselves and standing up for ourselves as consumers, because we're the ones who are handing over the dollars to these larger brands, and they will listen to us if we speak with our wallets. They will start to make the changes slowly but surely. I think also it does need to start with the larger brands and trickle down. But as independent and small brands, I think we need to do more things like this, like we're doing today, and work together to get the word out, get people testing, trying, get those early adopters to be evangelists of certain brands. And I think the last piece is really just incremental change. We can't dive off the deep end and expect consumers to all of a sudden engage in something that's a whole new world. I think changing bits at a time, I know we're really excited to see the end results, but changing bits at a time will pay dividends when you can see the consumer slowly changing with you.
Yeah, I just thought, on the consumer side, I don't think that there's going to be, I don't think the thing that's going to change anything is going to be some sort of innovation that's actually asking for a different user behavior on the consumer side, at least one that they're conscious of. And that's why I think, Colette, what you're doing is so awesome, because it's a problem that people have right now. There are people who don't have the right sizes, and that's a pressing issue. This algorithm makes this existing problem better. That's exactly why also with what I'm building in the shopping algorithm, the shopping experience right now is so frictionful, and so when you're shopping across all these different individualized brands, and you're ranking things A to Z or certain pricing or whatever it is, and nothing is personalized for you, that's something that has immediate application, versus when you're looking at what Sonia mentioned, not a lot of people are in the metaverse. Maybe a brand is going to be more hesitant to be innovative in technology because they're thinking about things like a metaverse application that nobody is actually on right now, and it doesn't actually solve any existing user problem. You're just asking for an alternative behavior when there is no pain point really enough, or even that exists so much to cause that change, other than people who are curious. So I think on the consumer side, it's going to be a switch that nobody actually realizes is happening. It just does, in the sense that like maybe you're using Colette's algorithm and like you think that you're still just shopping in the same way that you typically shop, but it's just a better sizing. And or like if you're using our algorithm, like, and you're shopping in a way that is no longer just baseline ranked A to Z and it's personalized, it's still the same behavior, just a little bit better versus like a totally different behavior. I don't see, if you look historically, anything that has ever stuck by asking for a new user behavior versus looking at the existing landscape and then just making it a little bit better for people, what they're already doing.
Hello? Sorry. And I will jump in that there is an entire boulevard for type of industry in the fashion industry that can build on everything that is 3D fitting, metaverse, AI to actually like solve like issues. So we talk about like those big corporation fashion, but there is also like the whole made-to-order apparel space that is actually the industry that is worth billions of dollars, but is truly struggling with their consumer journey. So like as we taper into this industry, there is the behavior of the consumer to be watched out and like listen, but also educate, like us as a brand, we educate the consumer on like what is acceptable today in 2024 of what you should be expecting from the brand. Do you need to have extensive timeline? No, there is 3D fitting. Do you need to have a perfect fit in one shot if you are spinning into a made-to-tailor garment? Yes. And yes, so like we are actually responsible for educating on what you guys should be expecting tomorrow.
And I'll just add to that. No, so what's really exciting about this whole conversation, like high level, is that this is the first time, I think, in the fashion industry where the consumer is being prioritized. So, just a few years ago, it's the retailers that have the power. The retailers are dictating to the designers, what the trends are, what the styles are, what the season's gonna look like, and the designers have to just do whatever it takes to please the retailers, to make their orders happen, whatever. Then it turned to direct to consumer when the retailers started, having their issues, right? So direct to consumer, the designers are dictating to the consumers. Okay, taking control into my own house. I'm going to tell you what our style is, what we're doing for the season, whatever. This now is like the first time that the consumers are actually dictating to the designers, the brands, and the retailers what they want. And the brands, this is the first time, and I'd love to hear from the audience too, but like, this is the first time that the brands are actually listening to consumers, and really needing to engage with them. And, going back to, what drives the consumers to engage with the brand, it's really how do you incentivize, what does your customer want? Maybe it's not just pushing, 15% discount code in their face every time they open a website, but maybe it's tapping into their lifestyle. Where do they eat? Where do they travel? What sports do they like to watch? What is in their community? Who do they hang out with? Like, build on their lifestyle instead of just like pushing product on them. And this is the first time that brands are actually listening and tapping into that. And this is where technology can really make that a seamless transition.
And so you have it here, guys. You guys have all the power. I think you make a really great point where we're finally starting to move into a world where we don't trust sites, we don't trust online recommendations as much as we trust human recommendations. People's reviews, influencers suggesting stuff to us, influencers who have very similar lifestyles to us, we actually relate to. So it's an interesting trend, and it seems like it's only going to keep moving in that direction. So it's going to be interesting to see how we as consumers dictate what that future of fashion technology really looks like. So with that, I want to close up our questions around and open it up for Q&A. There's lots of great topics covered here, so who wants to ask away? I think I saw that. Your hand up?
Thanks, great panel. And I want to ask a question about how to talk to brands as a startup who want to offer something cool to brands. So we're an AI startup specializing in creating AI agents, especially trying to offer to brands to say, hey, you can now creating like personal level, hands-on engagement with your customers and providing like a holding hands experience depends on what your brand want to offer. And I'm kind of confused, like, should I approach them as a B2B sell or to say, hey, let's become a design partner together? What we're being encountered is brands get excited, but we don't really get them to make a partner. So I want to ask that question. Thank you.
I will definitely take this if no one else wants it. So my point of view is don't go in there selling the product. Go in there and ask them what their pain points are and how you can solve them. You know, just having had, you know, experience on the fashion side and seeing, you know, how tech companies approach the industry, you have to tread lightly. You know, the brands get very scared very quickly. They want it really toned down, you know, and they want to know that you understand what their problems are first before pitching your product. So
This one. Thank you. Yeah, I think whenever you pitch, if you're bringing value to that brand, like brands want to have more value as long as you articulate it in a way that they can see the value proposition, they'll bite. Definitely just be slow with it in the beginning, but the main point is just know who you're talking to. Like there's definitely going to be someone at the brand that would want like the B2B SaaS pitch, and then there would be someone else that would want like the marketing pitch. So just like, I think that's more of a product question on your end, where like, what is your value proposition? And then once you figure that out, like the main value for them, finding the right point person, and then selling it that way. Yeah, sometimes it just comes down to like who you're, I mean, from my experience, all of it comes down to like who you're talking to, because at the end of the day, like a brand is a big unified entity, but it's made up of individual people who all have their own mentality. So if you're talking to like the head of marketing about why you can cut costs in manufacturing, like you're gonna get an immediate no, even if it's like an actual value prop.
And another thing that I would add kind of from a different angle is you can look at maybe other competitors or people in or other businesses that touch on what you're trying to do, see who invested in them, and what brands they're working with now, and maybe try that route. Also, you know, when you're first starting out, you really want more data and proof points rather than money when it comes to B2B, so offering pilots is a really nice way to get them to test it out for a 6-month trial without having to worry that they have to shell out any money, because no one ever wants to shell out money. They all say that they don't have any more budget.
no, that's a really good point, because they're so scared to put money up front into something that they've never seen out there done and that they can't relate to. So a lot of like what we're doing is revenue share based, you know, which allows them not to have to put the money up front, but to let you prove yourself as a company and then obviously split the profits as you both become successful.
And we're running close to time, but I want to leave room for one more question. So I know you had your hand up before, so you go for it.
Hello, so thank you so much for the insightful talk. I was really interested in Les Amon and the talk about customization of clothes. So as a consumer, I feel like there's only that like XX small, and then medium, and you can't really choose, and that involves a lot of like fast fashion and a lot of waste. So I'm just curious about what are your predictions in the possible scalability of those customized clothes, like being able to order online and then give them your measurements, and then those measured clothes come to you, so then the consumer feels like they can actually wear it. Especially say they're bigger in one part of the body but smaller in, like on the waist, bigger on the hips. Just your perspective in the future of that.
I think every brand should do it. No, I believe that there is a growth opportunity for even the brands that were offering like streamlined clothing to bring on like customization avatar. Like today there is this beauty of 3D body scanning that is available like for directly like online, so you can download an app, you can do it like from like any type of platform that allow the brand to get access to all of your data measurements and to follow you along the line to like your lifetime. So as a matter of fact, for us, we sell wedding dresses, but we get the data measurement of our consumer. So as we grow in scale, today we're a company that does wedding dresses, but tomorrow we can be the company that takes you back to working after many months away and offering like a custom suit. Or we could get into the hospitality clothing. Like there is just so many ways that you can follow on the journey on your consumer and their lifestyle and be like their one-stop shop for custom clothing.
I was going to say, and in 5 years from now, you're going to be selling first-party data to all the other bridal brands.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, with that, I think we can wrap up the panels. Thank you guys so much. Give it up to our panelists. And really big thank you to all of you guys for making it out here and making this such a great time. Thank you.
Thank you.